name is Carlos, and in terms of the question being asked, I think it's something especially important to consider since technology is becoming much more advanced and much more incorporated into our actual lives. Um, as we are right now, we're much more dependent on the technology that we have than we were, let's say, like 40 years ago. For example, prior to GPS, we would use actual physical maps to figure out where we were going, and we would plot out the routes that we thought were best based on just what we saw. Whereas nowadays, basically everybody has a smartphone that has a GPS in it that'll tell them how to get anywhere in the world, basically, and not just that, but also how to get there the fastest way possible. So, like for example, I wouldn't be able to get around the city without my phone. So I couldn't imagine doing it off memory or just having a map in my car to figure out where I was going. And I think as technology becomes more complex, more compact, and more integrated with ourselves, it's in no doubt going to change us in a notable way. We saw in the video that we needed for this assignment that we used to have a natural sleeping pattern that has been disrupted just by the light that we use artificially. So even more advanced forms of technology have already changed our society, but will continue to do so even more in the future. And another way that technology has changed us is our attention spans. Kids nowadays have attention spans less than a minute, if even that, because they're constantly exposed to more and more content with the devices that they have. So it's crazy to think that as speeds get faster and technology advances, the use of these electric devices are just gonna basically make us get bored more easily and pay less attention to the things that we are already observing. And that's already happening, and I think that'll just get worse as our personal devices get more advanced. And not just that, but electronics have also changed the way we interact with each other by making most of our interactions, even nowadays, virtual. And we've even introduced things like social media with our electronic devices, and that has even changed the fabric of our society as we know it. Because starting at an early age now, where kids are starting to have their social medias, they're beginning to perceive the world in a much different way than we grew up without social media used to. They're much more focused on their virtual presence than they are on their actual lives. And I think that is one of the craziest things that I've observed over time, especially for the younger generation that have to deal with the pressures of keeping up that image or using those devices more constantly. And as these devices become more incorporated into our own biology, I think that it's going to make our virtual presence even more important than it already is. And we're going to be more involved in that world than what we are in our physical world. But despite all that, I think that using electronic devices and even using it more in the future can also have a lot of positive effects as well. Our access to information constantly grows, and as that gets better, I think that we can even have a more wholesome understanding of the world and of each other if we apply the technology correctly. For example, people are already using their phones to learn languages, like through apps like Duolingo and stuff like that. And I think as that gets more and more advanced and we can even learn skills that we can apply into the real world, that'll just make us possibly more complete people in general. So I think the whole thing about using electronic devices is a matter of perception and use. If used in the right way, I think it could be something greatly beneficial to humans in general, but it can also have a lot of negative side effects, as we have already seen, and we have to address those for the future and possibly make this technology something that is not only accessible, but friendly and beneficial to everybody as a whole. So that's what I think about the use of electronic devices.